It is the Blitz, 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, and the new ESPN San Antonio app. Hector Ledesma in for Dat Win. I'm Jason Minix. Let's go right to the Wilkes Air Conditioning and Heating Hotline for our weekly visit with Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Coach, appreciate the time. Want to start with Greg Hardy. I heard in your press conference earlier you said no discipline at all for Greg Hardy. I just wanted to get your thoughts when you watched the video. You were standing right there seeing everything. In your mind, and can you describe what happened on that sideline with Greg Hardy?
Yeah, the defensive players are coming off the field. The special teams guys are going on the field. Greg, like some of the other guys, were trying to get the special teams guys fired up to go do their job, and he kind of jumped into that special teams huddle and jostled around with a few of the guys, and Coach Bisaccia was trying to get the special teams units ready, so there was a little bit of a conversation they had. They kind of pushed each other out of the way. Bisaccia got his group together, sent them out on the field, and there was just something that happened. And I think Greg was well intended, trying to inspire some of the guys. He's a very passionate guy. He's a very passionate player as they're going out on the field for the next play. And sometimes those things happen, and you try to address them as a coaching staff. You solve them and you move on. You move on at the time and get ready to focus on the task at hand, and then certainly afterwards you address it and you solve it and you move forward, and that's what we've done. When
you see the video and Greg Hardy knocking the clipboard out of Bisaccia's hands, and can you understand why so many Cowboy fans, media members are making a big deal of it? Do you think they're making too much of a deal of it?
Yeah, absolutely they are. And nobody in-house, nobody on our football team thinks twice about it. And it was something that when I kind of saw it happen in front of me, I just thought guys are getting each other fired up. You see players all the time hitting each other in the shoulder pads, hit them in the helmet, that kind of a thing. And that's really what I thought it was initially. And then finally Bisaccia needed to get him out of the huddle so he could get his unit ready to go play. And that's when other guys kind of stepped in, and the guys that were going out on the field gathered up and went out on the field, and Greg was removed away from the situation. So, these kinds of things happen on football teams. We talk about it all the time, the need for passion, emotion, and enthusiasm. The best players I've been around have that. The best teams I've been around have that. What we talk to our players about all the time is to focus that and channel that where it can be most productive. And that's what we'll keep trying to do with all our guys.
Coach, you mentioned the passion is something you want to see. I know one of the things that came up during a press conference was no penalty of any sort for Greg Hardy. As an organization, as a franchise, what's the line there? Well, how do you kind of walk the line between passion and something that the franchise deems acceptable, and behavior that the franchise will say, hey, look, we've got to do something of a disciplinary nature for this player?
Yeah, we're just interested in solving the issue and moving on. And you move on during the game, which is what we did. I thought our team responded well after that to give ourselves a chance to win the ball game. And then you move on after that, and you address the issues, you solve them, and you move on. There are hundreds of issues that come up every day in every organization in this league, every business there is, and the ones that are most successful are the ones that address the issues head on. You solve them, and you move on. You move on to the task at hand and make sure that's where your focus is. And that's what we did yesterday during the game, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett with us here on ESPN San Antonio, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Coach, 4 straight losses. You go with the quarterback change. Matt Castle gets his first start. I know he threw the 3 picks, which obviously one of them was a pick 6. It's hard to win when you turn the ball over 3 times, but overall, can you evaluate Castle's play?
I thought Matt did a lot of good things in the game. I thought his leadership was excellent. His poise and composure was excellent. I thought he handled the running game well. We ran the ball as well as we have all year long. He's a part of that, getting us into the right plays and making sure that's executed the way we want it to be executed. So he was a part of that, and I thought for the most part he threw the ball well, made good decisions, threw the ball accurately, made some big plays, but he did throw the 3 interceptions, and that's part of his performance. And it's a collaborative effort, it's a collective effort. Everybody's involved in those plays, but when you're the quarterback and you have the ball in your hands and you turn the ball over like that, you're responsible for it. And Matt knows that. He knows that better than anybody else, and accountable after the game. And he understands that he needs to play at a high level and really just by executing his job on every play, and a big part of that is taking care of the football. So he'll learn from it, and hopefully we'll be better at it next week.
You know, a lot of times when we're watching games in the living room, we don't know what the play is or what the route is, and interceptions happen, and it might not necessarily be on the quarterback. Troy Aikman really went after Terrence Williams on the pick six for not finishing the route. Was that on Williams or was that on Castle?
Again, it's on everybody, and starts with the protection up front, the decision by the quarterback, the route by the receiver, and ultimately the throw by the quarterback. And you always want your receivers to be able to battle and prevent those interceptions from happening. Corner made a good break on the ball. The ball was outside, and Terrence wasn't able to get there. But you never want your receivers to stop on the route. You always want them to compete through it. Sometimes he and the quarterback aren't quite on the exact same page when determining an angle coming out of a break, and so obviously you want Terrence in that situation to prevent that interception. It didn't happen. Terrence will learn from that as well.
Coach, you mentioned the running game earlier. Dan McFadden statistically had an outstanding game. My assumption is we are going to see a lot more of number 20 in there as we move along in the season here.
Yeah, Darren played really well in the game, and like I said, we ran the ball as well as we have all year long, and it starts with those guys up front. I thought they controlled the line of scrimmage, tight ends, fullback, receivers, all those guys. They block well and contributed to it, but Darren was the guy who benefited. He carried the ball 29 times in the game, and I thought he really ran well, and ran well inside. There were a lot of dirty runs in the game, those 2, 3, 4-yard runs where he was pushing the pile. He was good in the short yardage and goal line situations. He was good getting the ball out in space. When he had some creases, I think he took advantage of it, made some bigger runs for us. So it was good to see him getting that most extended work. Joe Randall got off to a good start with his first 2 carries, but then when he went out of the ball game, Darren really took advantage of the opportunity. I thought he played really well.
Is that you think about DeMarco Murray last year had so many carries in every game, 25, 26, 29. Yesterday, McFadden ends up with 29 carries and really got into a rhythm. Is that an argument to have one guy getting the bulk of the carries so that he can get into that rhythm versus going running back by committee?
Well, certainly, I think you have to evaluate your running back core and see if the guys are capable of handling that. DeMarco proved to us over the course of the season that he was able to handle it, did a great job for us last year. Running the football, was probably the best thing we did on our team, and it made so many other parts of our team that much better. And, when you have a guy who's able to do that, you want to give him chances. And I think in a lot of ways, Darren proved to a lot of us that he's capable of doing that. We were using different backs in the games through the early part of the season. Darren's role really was to be the third down back. He's a smart guy. He's a really good protector. Really good on the balls that we threw him underneath, getting his foot in the ground and going north and south. But I think he demonstrated to everybody that he's a guy who can carry the football as well, and certainly did an excellent job yesterday, and that'll warrant some more opportunities for him going forward.
Coach, looking forward through the rest of the week, when you think about Des Bryant, can we assume that if he gets out there and he's able to practice and he's able to show that he can withstand a game type situation in terms of what his body can take, that we may be able to see him play on Sunday?
Yeah, we'll just take Dez's situation day by day. He's had a good couple weeks, had a good day running yesterday up at MetLife Stadium prior to the game. He had a good workout today, so we'll continue to see how he handles the work that we give him and see if we can continue to bump him up and get him ready to practice a little bit this week prior to the ball game. So we'll see how he feels tomorrow morning and gauge that and see how that impacts the work he's going to have tomorrow. And literally we'll take it day by day and get a feel for what he's able to do and how he responds to it going forward.
When you think about in some of the reports that we hear, and obviously you get to watch them, but he can run straight, but has got to be able to cut and jump and do all. Has he been able to start the cutting and the jumping parts during practice or working out on the side?
Yeah, he has to be functional enough to play, and running straight is not what you do as a receiver. You do that some of the time, but there's so much change of direction involved and coming in and out of breaks, and you have to be able to have a lot of spontaneous movement over the course of a play, and so we'll try to put him through all those different tests before we get him out there, even to practice. So he's done a good job of that. He has been cutting here the last few days, and he seems to be handling that fairly well. But again, you give him a certain amount of work each day. You see how functional he is doing that work, and then you see how he responds to it. When he wakes up the next day, how's he feeling, and what's he able to do this day? And that's what we'll do with Dez this week. Again, he had a good day today. We're hopeful that he feels good tomorrow morning when he wakes up, and we can give him some more opportunities tomorrow leading into Wednesday's practice.
Cowboys coach Jason Garrett with us here on ESPN San Antonio. I like the way you guys were working in Lucky Whitehead on the offense, carried the ball 4 times, 35 yards, provided a bit of a spark. Any chance that Lucky has earned the trust to get back there and return kicks or punts?
Well, Lucky would be a punt returner for us in different situations. He was slotted in that role yesterday during the game. Just none of those situations came up, and he was the kickoff returner in the game yesterday and had a couple opportunities. So he's been working in that role, and he's been doing a pretty good job. He's one of those guys that you want to try to give some opportunities to touch the football, and typically he does positive things. And thought he did a good job with some of those carries they had on offense, and he was close on a couple of those kickoff returns as well. So he's a good football player. I think he's getting better, really each and every day.
4 straight losses, a couple of those games, opportunities to win, including yesterday. You think about the New Orleans game, even 28 points against Atlanta. Are you worried about the confidence level inside your locker room?
I'm really not. One of the things that we spend a lot of time on is, the makeup and the character of the player, and his personal character, his football character. Before we bring guys in, we really try to do a good job understanding what makes them tick, and their ability to handle different adversities that are inevitable over the course of a game or over the course of a season. And our guys have responded really well over this last month. We had a really good week of practice last week, probably our best week of practice, and I thought the intensity and the fight that we demonstrated throughout the game was outstanding. We didn't do what we needed to do to win the game. Obviously, turning the ball over 4 times and having them return a kickoff for a touchdown, those are the things that hurt you and they're hard to overcome. But there were a lot of positive things in the game that we're going to try to build on as we try to clean up those mistakes, getting ready for this challenge this week against Seattle.
It's going to be a tough game there at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Cowboys coach Jason Garrett, always appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys, good visiting with you. Have a great week.
Thank you very much. Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett with us here each Monday, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds, 225-2121, 225-2121, online at mybestbailbonds.com.